Yeah, I have to ask you about Veep stakes. Of course, have you gotten the call from Donald Trump? Has he asked you to be his running mate?
I have not gotten the call, Kristen, and I'll certainly, maybe not the first person that I'd let know if that happened, but we'll let the media know if I ever get that call.
Well, JD Vance might not ever get that call. At least that's what some people are thinking, following the unearthing of comments that Ohio Senator JD Vance made about Trump. And it could potentially upset Trump. We know that he has thin skin. And we also know, by the way, that JD Vance had previously said terrible things about Trump and then decided to kiss his ass after the fact. We'll get to that as well. But back in 2016, when Trump was first running for president, JD Vance authored a memoir, as we all know, Hillbilly Elegy, and he was doing a book tour. During that book tour, he went on MSNBC. And so while talking to Chris Matthews, who hosted a show called Hardball on MSNBC at the time, Vance actually said that he believed assault allegations a woman named Jessica Leeds made against Trump. Take a look.
It was a real shock when all of a sudden his hands were all over me. He was like an octopus. It was like he had 6 arms. He was all over the place. But it's when he started putting his hand up my skirt. And that was it. That was it. I was out of there. I wish the stewardess would come and rescue me. And then I decided, I got up, I got my purse, and I said, I'm going back to my seat and coach.
What do you think of this? This is sort of back, it's sort of interesting, evocative of the time, because we used to say stewardess first of all, now we say flight attendant, but just it gives you that sense of history. But this woman is not a show off. She's just telling what happened so we can know it.
Yeah, and it's sort of, it makes you think that at a fundamental level, this is sort of a he said, she said, right? And at the end of the day, do you believe Donald Trump, who always tells the truth? Just kidding. Or do you believe that woman on that tape?
No. Thanks for watching. Our audience has helped build TYT into the media giant it is today. Together, we can accomplish anything. Support our work and join us at tyt.com/team. So clearly, I mean, JD Vance not only seems to believe the allegations made by Jessica Leeds, but he also called Donald Trump a liar. Man, how do you get to where JD Vance is today, where you go from believing Donald Trump assaulted a woman and other women who made similar allegations to then being one of his biggest sycophants on national television, just constantly pandering to Donald Trump to the point where he's literally being considered as a VP pick?
You answered it, constantly pandering to Donald Trump. And by the way, I'm not gonna call him a hypocrite or anything, saying oh, he believed all these things and now something else. I'm sure he still believes all these women who've made these claims against Donald Trump. He just doesn't care. I'm sure he still considers Donald Trump a massive liar. I'm sure he still considers him America's Hitler or whatever. He just has made the calculation, I'd rather make money off of it. You know what, if cozying up to the serial sexual abuser, proto-authoritarian, lets me be a senator, then that's what I'm gonna do, rather than just being some author who occasionally goes on Chris Matthews. Well, if I just get rid of all of my principles and suck up to a fascist, I get money and I get opportunities and I might be VP. It's selling out, that's all it is.
It makes me sad. It makes me really sad. And look, I mean, it's not like we don't see similar self-interest and cowardice on the Democratic side. I mean, to be fair, we don't see cover-ups of sexual assault, but let me get to some of the other statements that JD Vance has made about Donald Trump before he decided to pander to him. So Vance called himself a never Trump guy and said he didn't vote for him in 2016. In an August 2016 New York Times op-ed headlined, "Why Trump's anti-war message resonates with white America," Vance wrote, "Mr. Trump is unfit for our nation's highest office. There is definitely an element of Donald Trump's support that has its basis in racism or xenophobia," he told PBS's Judy Woodruff in September of 2016 when asked about Hillary Clinton's comment that as many as half of Trump's supporters belonged to a basket of deplorables. He added, "But a lot of these folks are just really hardworking people who are struggling in really important ways." Vance also sent a message that year to his law school roommate that his law school roommate, Josh McLaurin, that McLaurin has recounted publicly. In it, Vance said he went back and forth between thinking Trump is a cynical, ass like Nixon, who wouldn't be that bad and might even prove useful, or that he's America's Hitler, according to a screenshot that his former roommate shared on social media in 2022 when Vance was running for Senate in Ohio. And so look, Vance knows that these comments are gonna keep coming up to haunt him as he's vying to be Trump's VP pick, which is why he's done the rounds on cable news, on conservative media, apologizing profusely, debasing himself, saying that he was wrong all along. I want to give you an example of that.
You said, I'm a never Trump guy, never liked him, terrible candidate, idiot if you voted for him. How do you deal with them now?
Yeah, well, I think the simple answer is you've got to respect the American people enough to just level with them. Look, I was wrong about Donald Trump. I didn't think he was going to be a good president, Brett. He was a great president, and it's one of the reasons why I'm working so hard to make sure he gets a second term. I think you should. When you're wrong about something, you should change your mind and be honest with people about that fact. And I actually think, again, whether this is running as his running mate or running and supporting him as a United States Senator, Brett, I think it actually presents a real opportunity to talk to the American people, because a lot of people didn't think Trump was going to be a good president, and a lot of people were happy to be proven wrong. And I think it presents an opportunity for me to make the case to the American people that, look, we have two very different sets of results. 4 years of Joe Biden, 4 years of Donald Trump. We know the Trump record is one of success. The Biden record is one of failure. I came around to Donald Trump, and I think that a lot of Americans will do the exact same thing.
Amazing.
I mean, who knows? Maybe he had a realization and he thought everything I previously believed about Donald Trump was totally wrong. Had a change of heart. What say you, John?
I think if I were gonna have to explain away all of that unexplainable stuff, I would imply it's a change of heart rather than a change of wallet too. That's what I would do. If I was about to lie to you, I would say, look, I'm gonna have to level with you and then go on to lie about everything. And then to say, we have the experience of 4 years of Trump and 4 years of Biden. It was with Trump, it was such success. Everybody remembers 2020, it was great, right? And a lot of people had a change of heart. They didn't think he'd be good. And then they changed their mind too, which is why they didn't reelect him for a second term initially. Like, all of this is obvious nonsense. He wants the position, he wants the influence. He's an ambitious guy, he is power hungry. That's his principle. All the other principles he might have theoretically, but they can be shifted if necessary. The only one that matters is he wants to be close to power. Closer and closer, richer and richer. That's all he wants.
Yeah, look, the thing that really bothers me about our current political system is it seems to incentivize individuals who have no real values or principles.
100%.
And it really bothers me, especially because I think that we've proven on this show over and over again that we are willing to hold true to our principles, even knowing that in some instances it might actually go against like what our preferred candidate or what our preferred party wants. You get what I'm saying? And it'll lead to backlash.
Yeah.
But
or our business interests, or business career interests,
oh, 100%,
or whatever.
100%. Yeah. I mean, how many times have I said things on the show that hurt the show? I mean, like, and to Cenk's credit, he's always supported me, and also to his credit, he's always been willing to do the same thing I do. I mean, I remember when Obama was first elected, there was a lot of hope that he was actually gonna follow through with some of his promises. And I don't know, about 6 months in, 6 months to a year in, it became abundantly clear that Obama had been captured by corporate interests. Cenk would share that news, factual information. We lost a huge portion of the audience, but I would rather lose a portion of the audience if it means that we can continue accurately sharing what's happening in the country, what's happening in politics. Yes, we can share what we think, and we always do that as well, but the facts are the facts. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, and we've had classic examples. Basically, every time we have a presidential primary, we support the progressive that we think would have the best policy and the best chance of winning. And lots of other people do that. And then they get boxed out by the system or the party or whatever. And then some people who care more about their audience than they do about the actual results of these elections immediately flips to, well, then whatever, fascism's better. And we haven't done that. And every time we stand true to, we still want the best outcome, we get called, fake leftists or whatever. We get attacked for it, but
I'm not a leftist. I want to be clear about that.
Well, you've been called. Well, you've certainly been called a fake leftist, so don't worry about it. But yeah, so again, but that is not how you get ahead. That is not how you get huge paychecks. You sell out and you do better. They do it because it works. Dave Rubin is who he is because he wanted a nicer kitchen. That's it. JD Vance is who he is because he wanted a nicer house. And whatever principles they had, whether it's undercutting everything they've said or undercutting their core identity as a human being, it doesn't matter. The money is what matters.
Yeah, and I think Marco Rubio is another example. Marco Rubio is another one of these Republicans who was pretty vicious to Trump in 2016. Trump was vicious right back.
Oh yeah.
But now Marco Rubio's been campaigning for Trump, been doing all sorts of television interviews on behalf of Donald Trump, and is also being considered as a VP pick. So if you were to ask me, do I think that JD Vance's previous statements about the allegations against Trump, like is it gonna hurt his chances of being a VP pick? I don't think so. I genuinely think that as long as these politicians tuck tail and kiss up to Trump, he'll reward them in some way or another.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.